I had in my head for some reason that SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 was the beginning of a continuous downward trend of WWE games, so I replayed it recently to see if that held true. As for why I thought that in the first place, well, that could be attributed to a variety of things. For starters, season mode was officially a thing of the past, at least the traditional season mode from years past that we've all come to know and love. No, replacing it this year was the all-new Road to WrestleMania mode. This did away with the year-long string of pieced-together storylines from the past and opted for a more personalized experience, guiding you through one of 6 different stories from January through WrestleMania. And honestly, it's not that bad. I remember being pissed at this decision at the time, but in hindsight, these stories were actually kind of compelling, especially when compared to the bogus Myrai stories we've been getting. Each week begins with show intros going over current storylines, which adds to the overall immersion of the game. The cutscenes are enjoyable, and there are plenty of unlockables that can be obtained by completing optional objectives during matches. I'll repeat that, optional objectives. Meaning that you can completely ignore them and not have to worry about failing the match and having to restart it. You know, unlike other career modes. I'm looking at you, 2K19. But if, like me, you crave a more traditional career mode from the days of WrestleMania 2000 on the N64, well, it turns out that SVR09 has exactly that, a career mode. Here you can pick any superstar, including a created one, and climb the ranks to glory. Your starting attributes are terrible, but you'll level them up based on how you actually wrestle in your matches, which is awesome. For example, if you use a bunch of weapons, you'll level up your hardcore skill. If you hit running and aerial attacks, you'll level up your speed. This kind of leveling in a wrestling game is great, and feels like leveling in an Elder Scrolls game or something. Anyway, you start off challenging for a mid-card belt like the US title, and can only climb the rankings and challenge for the belt by not only beating the contenders above you, but by accumulating enough star ratings. That's right, the quality of your match is just as important as winning. You can only wrestle the starting contenders in singles matches, but you can edit the rules of the match to allow weapons or disable countouts, adding variety and making things easier if you choose. Only when you stack up enough star ratings can you challenge the champ at the next pay-per-view, where the title match can be a new match type. If you win, not only will you be the champ, but you'll unlock the match type to be selectable in future matches. Honestly, this is a mode that should just be a no-brainer add-on for every WWE game. Sure, we have the ability to lock onto one wrestler for Universe mode, but that lacks the structure of a proper career mode like this. I hope we see it return someday. Customization is pretty run-of-the-mill here, although it's nice to be able to create a finisher. Gone is GM mode, but you can still customize the roster to your liking, aligning people as heels or faces, assigning them to different brands and stables, and even choosing your own champions. It's not much, but this roster customization was a foundation that would be built on in subsequent SVR games. The highlight reel would become even better too. In SVR09 though, the creation suite is just kind of whatever. The gameplay itself feels very photocopied from the previous year. All moves are very animation-based and cannot be interrupted. The carry grapples are still great though, as are the minigames like corner chops or grapefruit bouncing. I like the faster-paced action. I have no complaints about how the matches feel. Well, except that maybe opponents could stand to sell just a little more. If you have an aerial finisher, for example, good luck keeping your opponent on the ground long enough to hit it. Weapon physics are bad in 09, there's no sugarcoating it. Hitting your opponent never feels satisfying unless you get one specific head-on animation to line up just right. The ladders don't fall organically, and you can't put opponents through tables in unique ways without setting up their animations. The backstage brawls are lame, and the environment can only be interacted with in a limited capacity, like just by throwing your opponent into a crate once. That's it. Compared to previous SmackDown games, this is very disappointing. Backstage areas should be exciting to explore, but these areas are boring. Even the cell or cage matches lack variety, but at least the environmental grapples can be fun the first few times. Lastly, the feature this game touted as being the most overhauled was the tag team match. For a long time in the series, these matches were a bit of a drag to play through. They all played the same. SVR09 looked to fix that by introducing new ways to tag in, a shared momentum meter by both partners, and more ways for the illegal man to help in the match. You can grab an opponent and hold them for a double team, pull the top rope down on someone when they're running towards you, or build heat for a hot tag to bail your partner out and shift momentum. They did a great job with tag matches, and this game has my favorite version of that match type to date. So, I don't know why I had it in my head that SVR 09 was the beginning of the downfall of WWE games. It definitely was not. It was missing the season mode that I had come to know and love, and I think I held that against the game, but Road to WrestleMania, I would take that in a heartbeat if you offered it to me today. And the career mode that this game had was really stellar and could keep you entertained for hours on end. Sure, the creation suite lacks the variety that we have today. It certainly doesn't have the community creations that we have today, but the gameplay itself was still fun. So I don't think SVR 09 was as bad as I thought it was in my head. It's just one of those times where you get something and you were expecting something else, and just because it wasn't what you expected, you have this idea in your head that it wasn't good, when in fact, just because it wasn't what you wanted doesn't mean it wasn't good objectively, and I think SVR 09, objectively speaking, was good. But what about you guys? Did you play SVR 09? Of course you have. Everybody's played it. If you haven't, I highly recommend you go back and do so, because it does kind of hold up today. I think every single SmackDown vs. Raw game in a vacuum is a pretty good game. This was back during a time when each WWE release actually felt different from the last, and that is a concept that kids growing up today are just going to be unfamiliar with, with the last few 2K games just being the same 2K game, with the exception of an increased price gouging technique by my faction, but don't get me started on that. Guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, let me know. Leave a mention in the comments of your memories of SVR 2009. I would love to hear them. Until then, I will catch you guys next time. Be well and take care. Peace.